You were never meant to feel this unsure about your place in the world. For most of human history, status was obvious. You could see who mattered the moment they entered a space. You could measure rank by posture, by physical presence, by who spoke and who listened. Hierarchy was not hidden. It was embodied. Today, you can sit in a room full of successful people and still have no idea who truly holds power. Titles do not always reflect influence. Income does not always reflect leverage. Popularity does not always reflect respect. Status has become abstract, and the human brain struggles with abstraction when it comes to rank. Our ancestors evolved in small groups where social position was constantly reinforced through visible cues. Strength, competence, alliances, reproductive success. These signals were direct and repeated daily. If someone lost status, everyone saw it. If someone gained status, it was visible in how others treated them. There was little ambiguity. Modern systems removed that clarity. As societies expanded, hierarchies became layered. Instead of one tribe of 50 people, we now operate inside corporations, digital platforms, institutions, cities, and global networks. You may be high status in one domain and irrelevant in another. You may earn more than your neighbor, yet have less cultural influence. You may command authority at work and feel invisible online. Status is no longer singular. It is fragmented. Fragmentation creates uncertainty. When rank is unclear, the brain does not relax. It scans. It compares. It searches for signals that might indicate where you stand. This constant scanning is exhausting because modern signals are inconsistent. A verified badge might suggest importance, but it can be purchased. A job title may sound impressive, but it may carry little actual decision-making power. A large following may indicate visibility, but not necessarily respect. In ancestral conditions, status cues were costly to fake. Physical strength required training. Hunting success required skill. Leadership required consistent performance under pressure. The cost of deception was high because exposure was immediate. In modern environments, many signals are low cost to display and high impact in perception. Carefully curated images, strategic networking, optimized resumes, selective storytelling. These can reshape how others interpret you without fully representing your underlying competence. This does not mean everyone is pretending. It means the system allows perception to travel faster than proof. The result is a persistent background anxiety. If you cannot clearly see hierarchy, you cannot clearly locate yourself within it. And if you cannot locate yourself, you cannot calibrate your behavior accurately. Should you compete harder? Should you withdraw? Should you display more confidence? Should you stay quiet? Unclear rank produces unstable strategy. You may notice this in subtle ways. You enter a professional setting and feel unsure whether to assert yourself. You compare your income to others but still question your value. You achieve a milestone and yet feel no stable increase in status because the metric does not translate across contexts. Online, someone with fewer real-world achievements may appear dominant due to visibility. Offline, someone quiet may control critical decisions. The disconnect between appearance and leverage destabilizes our internal hierarchy map. And humans rely heavily on hierarchy maps. Hierarchy reduces chaos. When you know who leads, who follows, and where you stand, your nervous system settles. Decisions become easier. Interactions become predictable. But when status becomes invisible, your nervous system stays alert. It keeps asking, who has real power here? Modern status is often embedded in networks rather than bodies. It exists in who can mobilize attention, who can coordinate resources, who can influence interpretation. These are not always visible traits. They are relational. They depend on connections, reputation flows, and institutional positioning. This shift from visible to invisible status is not accidental. It is a byproduct of scale. In small groups, everyone sees everyone. In large systems, no one sees the whole picture. So power moves into less observable channels. Consider how influence operates in a corporation. The person with the highest title may not be the one who shapes long-term decisions. Influence may sit with someone who controls information flow, who frames problems, who manages key relationships. To an outsider, this is difficult to detect. The same applies online. A person with moderate follower numbers but high trust within a niche can hold more real leverage than someone with broad but shallow attention. Yet from the outside, the visible metric dominates perception. Our brains are still tuned to read bodies, tone dominance displays. But much of modern status operates through abstract signals, financial instruments, digital metrics, institutional authority, brand reputation. These are cognitively demanding to interpret. They require context. Without context, we default to comparison. And comparison in an environment of incomplete information leads to chronic dissatisfaction. You see fragments of other people's status, but not the structure behind it. You see outcomes, but not networks. You see symbols, but not leverage. This is why modern success often feels hollow. Achievements do not automatically update your internal sense of rank because rank itself is no longer anchored in one shared environment. It is distributed across multiple arenas. You can be dominant in your gym, average in your workplace, invisible online, and financially stable but socially disconnected. Which one defines your status? The brain prefers a single answer. Modern life refuses to provide one. Invisible status also changes behavior. When rank is unclear, people increase signaling. They emphasize credentials, display lifestyle markers, highlight affiliations. The goal is to reduce ambiguity by making position more legible. But when everyone signals more, noise increases. And as noise increases, clarity decreases further. It becomes a loop. The more uncertain status becomes, the more aggressively people attempt to clarify it through display. The more display increases, the harder it becomes to distinguish genuine leverage from performance. This does not mean hierarchy disappeared. It means it became harder to see. Understanding this shift is stabilizing. It explains why you may feel uncertain even when you are objectively progressing. It explains why environments can feel competitive without clear opponents. It explains why comparison feels endless. Modern status is invisible because it is embedded in systems too large for direct perception. You are not failing to read the room. The room itself expanded beyond immediate visibility. The strategic response is not to obsess over every signal. It is to choose the domains that matter to you and build competence and network leverage within them. Instead of chasing universal status, which no longer exists, you anchor yourself in specific arenas where signals align with substance. When status was visible, survival required reading bodies. When status is invisible, stability requires understanding systems. The anxiety you feel is not weakness. It is an evolutionary mismatch. Your brain wants clear rank cues. Modern hierarchies hide them behind abstraction. Once you recognize that, the confusion loses some of its power. You stop expecting universal recognition. You stop assuming that visibility equals value. You stop measuring yourself against fragments. Modern status may be invisible, but leverage still exists. It simply flows through channels that require deliberate interpretation. And in a world where rank is harder to see, clarity becomes an advantage.